The family's everything. Very proud, and rightly so. So that was something that I tried to, like I say, foster and support them as much as we possibly could with that. So in a nutshell, really, there was a lot of raw individual talent and players that were hungry and often desperate to succeed for themselves and the family. So that was something. And you can see, hopefully you'll see how it all sort of fits together. The context was that we had to qualify the 1995 age group for the Asian finals in 2023. And that age group had never qualified at under 16, at under 19. So it was the first time they were looking, well, we were hopefully looking to qualify, and the finals were going to be in China. So that was an interesting dynamic and a challenge. And again, personally, as I say, these things are important to us as coaches. My contract was structured around the different stages of qualification. So in theory, I was under pressure also to get results. Results are important. And that does, I know results are important all the time, but as we'll sort of go through the presentation, I think everyone's at different stages of their careers where results, we all want to win, but results take a bigger importance in different situations. So for me, definitely that was the goal, that was the outcome. And I had 10 months really before the qualification tournament to get to know the players, get to know the country, get to know the culture, and try and prepare these players for qualification, something that they'd never done before. So again, as a summary, the results mattered. So that was really important. So from all of that and from everything that I'd gathered, when I say coaching, I mean the whole idea of developing the players and what I was going to do. But it was really important, and it was something I decided on, that we were going to establish a structure within the team, particularly defensively, that would enable some of that individual raw talent to show and to be its most effective. And I think the development of this tournament and mentality really important. So when you're in a knockout stage and you're in a group stage, you've got to take opportunities to score. You've got to make sure your goal difference is good. You've got to keep it, not concede goals, score as many as you can when you have chance. And I think that was really important to me. And that was sort of how we decided to go about it. So that obviously the culture and the context may help you formulate what your plan's going to be. So this was the strategy. So going along with sort of my idea through wasn't a criticism, but I felt that from when the players weren't with us on international duty, I was worried about the level of work that they were getting at the clubs. And again, it was not a criticism of the staff; it's just the level that they were at. And so I decided to liaise with the local professional clubs to allow them, the under-23 players, to come and train with us at least once a week, which was a big thing. And I visited all of them, went to see the players training with their club, saw what they were doing, spoke to the coaches, and they were quite happy. And I got a really good response from that. So that was something that really, was a huge benefit for me. Obviously observed the players in the club training and in the National League games. It didn't, like I say, it was difficult for young players over there to play a lot. So having them once a week or twice a week was really important, but that was something that I did. And I wanted to make sure that I was visible. I went to every club, not just to the big ones. This was really important, establishing a coaching session structure that logically progressed the players from individual, unit and team. So everything was about organisation. People needed to know their roles within the team, but then obviously we tried to, particularly the attacking players, keep that raw talent that would eventually make be decisive at the top end of the field. And we developed the game model, which I'll have a little look through. And you'll see I've got some video shortly. The three top players, the three main players, the three forwards. They were who I wanted to base the team around. So we decided on 4-3-3, and I produced a booklet of the roles and responsibilities. It was all in Arabic. It was all translated. So hopefully the players, they could enhance their learning, not when they were just with us, but also when they were away from the team. Well, that was a way that I wanted to go. And then the 10 months that we had building up to the qualifiers, I wanted to give them a variety of experiences. And believe it or not, one of the problems was, like I say, we had players from age 20 up to 23. They hadn't played a lot of games because of the structure of the league and the structure of the way that they. So often the game craft and the game understanding was lacking. So I wanted to make sure that we tried to develop that through the games that we got, and the friendly games that we organised. I went into a tournament where we played a lot of strong teams. We played China, we played Iraq, and then we go into other tournaments where we play other teams where we thought we'd dominate the ball, and that would give us another challenge. So it's a big, wide variety of experiences in the game to hopefully, like I say, develop this game craft. And I suppose one of the most important things was, when I was talking earlier about the economics, is that I was managed to adjust, not get extra money, but adjust the sort of annual budget for the team to get them a small training fee for them coming training with us, and also increase the allowance that they got for international duty. So that was something that was you want to call it it was a big win for the players, because they could see that obviously we were trying to help them, and we were trying to, make their lives easy, if you like, certainly help them benefit from that way. So that was the sort of strategy that I went about, and what I looked to implement. Everything okay so far, Dion?
Yes, Brenny, yeah. It's going well, going perfect.
No problem. Okay, so this is the game model. So this is what we did for the players. We basically, you will have seen this before, and again, this is something I've seen and changed myself over the years. But we basically split the game up into 3 parts with the ball, 3 parts without the ball, and then obviously defensive transition, attacking transition in between. So we worked on these. We blocked off the work that we did. So we'd spend some time on build-up, we'd spend some time on the second phase build-up, and creating and scoring. We tried to do it logically, so that the players logically understood what their role was in each of those different phases. And again, if you want to, have a little bit of time to look through, but this is just my idea. Like I said before, this was just something that I came up with. People call it a different thing, but this was just how I wanted to structure it. And then obviously transition and how we worked, and all the work divided up into individual, unit, and team. So that's how we tried to do it. And I found this really useful. This wasn't something I'd really done before I went in real great detail, but I found it a really good tool. Then this was this sort of standardized session structure that we had, that we tried to every time. We didn't always get through the 5 parts of it for different time restrictions, etc. But generally, this is how it would look: some technical work, some patterns of play, then some possession that was important to us, then some movement patterns. So with opposition, without opposition, developing the decision making. So we're building up as a team. What's the patterns of play? What are the options? It might be this, it might be that. Do we go through the team? Do we go round the team? Do we go over, etc.? So it was those were really important. Then there's games. So anything from 1v1 to 5v5. It's a game related situation. So it might be the front 4 against the back 4. With a holding midfield player, etc. But it was all based around developing the movement patterns and the into a game-related practice that had competition, so that they were getting into those situations regularly in practice, and making it position specific, which was really important. Obviously, set pieces were hugely important. Then the games at the end, depending. And I'm big on this. It's something personally that I believe in. I think your games have got to mean something at the end. So we try to structure the games and put conditions on them as often as possible to try and get the outcomes that we wanted in that particular practice or that particular session, what the main outcomes were. So that was really important. And I found that was an easy way of getting the idea across and maximising the time that you had with the players, because they all sort of knew where we were coming from initially. I mean, you won't be able to, well, unless any of you speak Arabic, but this was the booklet. This was around the roles and responsibilities. This is just a defensive section of it. So the top left slide, I know it's in Arabic, there's a bit of English there. High pressure, medium pressure, low block, and it basically gives the players ideas around where the white team, where they would be, how we would set up organisation wise if we were going to defend from high pressure. Then, you know, if the Reds play it to the left centre back, who goes where, all the different movements, and then it sort of moves on to okay, mid block, cutting off the pitch. That's what that dotted line is down the middle, keeping the ball on one side. All all basic ideas, but this is just my idea. Like I say, it's not gospel, but it was just the way that I thought and the ideas that I thought would work with this particular group of players. So this was something else that we got. And again, the last one's the low block, at keeping everyone in line. We're playing 4-3-3 when we attack, but when we defend, it's more like 4-5-1. Both of the wide men were quick, so that was a way that was the strategy that we'd use against a stronger team quite regularly. So it's just trying to give them the ideas and trying to bed in the information as best that I possibly could. And again, I found this idea around producing videos and booklets, etc., as helping, and it was a tool that they liked and that they understood. So then we get to the qualification group, and this is where we were after 2 games. So you only have 3 games. The competition, our group, was in Palestine. So our hotel was actually in Bethlehem, which was amazing actually to me. And obviously Palestine were the host. And I'll take you through in the video when I go through that in a sec. First game, pretty straightforward. We played Bangladesh. We won easily after starting a bit nervously. But that was sort of went to plan. So that was okay. I was quite happy. We knew that was going to be they weren't going to be the strongest opposition that we had, and we had to boost our goal difference. So that was going to be an opportunity. So with that in mind, just to share a story, one of the things we did in pre this tournament, we played our under 16 national team, boys national team. Obviously they're 6-7 years younger than our players, but small, fast. Tried to replicate what we might see against Bangladesh, and we played a match against them, but we only played in one half of the field, or just over one half of the field. So it was basically 11v11, but in one half of the field, because I felt that we would have all the ball all of the time, and the biggest problem that we would have would be breaking down a deep line defense. So we just on and on and on, and we played 3 blocks of 15 minutes, I think we played. But to try and get the guys into the ideas of dominating possession, trying to overload the wide areas, taking the chances, being clinical, stopping counter-attacks, etc. So that was like a little tool that we worked on, that we used going into that game. So then just to explain further, then Palestine and Tajikistan, they drew. Then we played Palestine, and again, I suppose it's not just now, I don't suppose, but it's topical currently, even more so. I think it has been for a number of years. A lot of our players, a lot of Jordanians are descended from Palestinian roots. A lot of their family and their ancestors had to move to Jordan, obviously when the troubles began, etc. So this was a huge thing in terms of understanding the culture. This was a huge thing for them to play in Palestine again. Basically their home nation, really. Even though obviously they were Jordanian, they'd moved to Jordan. So it was a huge thing for them. And I'll show you in a second. We were 2-0 up in this game against Palestine just before half time, and then we ended up losing the game. So this put us into a position going into the last game against Tajikistan where we needed to win. Palestine were going to beat Bangladesh, so we had to finish second. We had to be one of the best 6 runners-up in Asia, and we'd done the maths, and we worked out that if we won the game, we'd have a great chance, but we didn't quite know how many goals to score. But I just want to show you, the first video is the morning of the Palestine game. It was a Friday morning, and our hotel was situated just by the wall that's around Jerusalem, and a lot of the which is obviously out of bounds now for a lot of the people, so they couldn't get in. So every Friday there was some clashes. And this video, the first video on the right hand side, is videoed from my hotel balcony, and my players, some of my players' families and relatives were involved with this. But this was the morning of the Palestine game. Okay, so I wanted to show that because obviously, you know, the title of the talks, the culture and coaching. I've been fortunate enough to complete all my sort of coaching badges, like UEFA Pro license, Asian Pro license, and I don't think any of the coaching courses that I went on prepared me as a coach and as a human being for that situation with my players seeing that, and they had to play a game that night. So trying to get them understand what they're going through, have the empathy with them, but then also say, well, we want to win a football match. That was difficult. Anyway, that evening we lost the game. I suppose there's a bigger picture involved there, which meant that we had to beat Tajikistan. And this is the game that I wanted to show you. So the number 9, the number 10, and the number 11 are the 3 forward attacking players that I was talking about that I wanted to base the team around.
مرور جميل، كرة بينية عند الرياحي، جول 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 جول. أول أهداف منتخب النشامة، أول أهداف منتخب النشامة. أكيد أخيرا يفك النحس لاعب أحمد الرياحي ويمنح المنتخب الأردني أول أهداف هذه المباراة. 1-0 لمصلحة المنتخب الأردني ونشامة عن طريق اللاعب أحمد الرياحي.
لمصلحة منتخب الأردن أحرزه اللاعب رقم 11 أحمد الرياحي.
إذن يتقدم منتخب النشامة بعد ما استحق التقدم طبعا في مرات كثيرة، لأن هناك أكثر من فريق عنده 6 نقاط على مستوى طبعا المراكز الثانية. هنا رأسية خطيرة وهدف ثاني، هدف ثاني لمصلحة المنتخب الأردني، بهاء فيصل يوقع على الهدف الثاني لمصلحة منتخب النشامة. إذن هدفين مقابل لا شيء، يقتنص هدف بهاء فيصل، يزيد بشكل كبير من حظوظ منتخب النشامة للتأهل لكأس آسيا، يزيد من حظوظ منتخب النشامة بشكل كبير. هدف ثاني من بهاء فيصل، هدف ثاني لمصلحة منتخب الأردن.
Okay, so again, after a challenging period, we won the game 2-0. That was enough for us to qualify, and we got to the finals for the first time for this age group, and we came to the finals in China in 2018. Great experience, but hopefully, you know, you can see there I've highlighted the importance of how we try to go about things, taking everything into consideration. And again, obviously, it's you know, the ultimate thing there, like I spoke earlier, was that we had to qualify for our own, you know, personally we had to, but obviously there was a responsibility to the federation, to the players, etc., and we managed to do that. So that was a success. But obviously it was a huge learning experience for me in those sort of first 10 months. You know, but gladly it ended on a positive note, really. Okay, Dion, sort of like the do we have any questions, or do we want to carry on?
No? So totally up to you, Bronny. We can leave the questions to the end, or you can have some questions based on the Jordan. That's totally up to you.
Yeah, well, if there's any questions now, let's. I think it's a good point to do it.
Sure. Anybody have any questions for Bronny? So Nicholas has his hand up. Yes, Nicholas, go ahead, please.
Hi, Bronny. Thanks for sharing that story and that journey. If I had to ask, what would have been the top 3 challenges as you went through that journey that you had to sort of confront and overcome to get to the other side, to allow for what unfolded to unfold? What would you say those sort of top challenges were? And share with us, what it took for you to get to the other side of them.
Yeah. Okay. It's a good one. It's a good question. I think there's, and I've said it before, people talk about, wherever you're working in the world as a coach, and we're all coaches and it's a global game. And I think no matter where you are, you have different sets. We have challenges everywhere. I think not just in football, but in life as well. But they're just a different set of challenges. A huge thing for me, a huge thing to get over. One of the biggest things was the amount of football that the players were playing because they were young and the level wasn't. There's the first team in Jordan, as in the club's first team, the Premier League. And then underneath it's an under-19 league. Well, obviously our lads are too old for that. So they, like happens in a lot of countries, they sort of fell through the gap. So they were training with the first team, but wouldn't play very much. There wasn't very much game situations for them. So we might have an international break of, an international sort of window of 2 weeks, and you get a lot of good work in, and then you don't see them again for another 3 months because, that was initially what the problem was. So then you felt that you were sort of taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back all the time in terms of their progress. That's why it was really critical that I managed to liaise with the clubs to get them at least once or twice a week, not only from the tactical and the technical point of view, but also physically as well, because they need to keep in good physical shape. So I had a sort of part-time fitness coach with me. And we were able to sort of implement some things for them as well, and to give them their own programs to do with the clubs. So I think a huge one was the challenge of the amount of football and the level of football that they were playing. And hopefully we tried to address that a little bit in terms of what we did. The second one, I think, was a little bit of expectation as well. And I don't know if it's the same everywhere, but they're expected. Jordan had some decent results in the past. They got to a World Cup playoff match against Uruguay a few years before I'd arrived, and there was a sort of expectation that they should be doing well and they should be qualifying for tournaments, and this age group wasn't very good because it had never qualified, etc. Well, tournament football is difficult. You can be unlucky, can't you? I think so. There was a sort of expectation that even if you won, well, yeah, it wasn't, and that used to, it wasn't any great big deal. You beat Bangladesh 7-0, you should beat them, you should beat them 10-0, etc. So I felt that affected the players, and I think that they had a mentality where they thought, when you play in the bigger nations, they were really in awe and afraid. And I think we had to work on that as well, to say, no, look, you've got the ability, if we go about things the right way, and we do things that we've spoken about and they've worked on, you've got every chance of qualifying and being better because of the attributes that they had. And so I think that I'm searching for the word, actually, inferiority complex a little bit on how they went about it. So that was a big challenge. But I think those were the main two. And I think, I got support. I got real support from the federation when I was there. I was lucky. They were good. They were good people. So they went with things. The restrictions, when I say about the resources, it wasn't the federation had resources to a certain degree. So it wasn't always, it wasn't, but you were often operating, with your hands tied behind your back to a certain degree with certain situations, training grounds, facilities, etc. But I think you have to adapt, and you have to get through it and say, well, okay, I haven't got this. I'd come from sort of working in the pro game in England, and you have to, we didn't really have an analyst, so you have to do it yourself, or you don't have as much. Again, one of the reasons about producing these booklets and this sort of the stuff for the players to study was that we couldn't really show them a lot of video because we didn't really have an analyst, so we sort of had to develop our own way of working. So the resources, to a certain degree, the resources. For example, again, going on to this inferiority thing, maybe that isn't the right phrase, but when we got to the finals in China, obviously because the players are Muslim players, they have to eat the food that has to be prepared in a particular way, with all due respect to their faith, no problem whatsoever. So that was really important to them, but they found it difficult to travel because they didn't really like the food, etc. When we went to China for the finals, Iraq were in our group, and Iraq brought their own chef to the tournament. Now our players basically didn't trust the fact, even though there was signs everywhere saying that the food was prepared in the right way for them, they didn't really trust that, and that was, that I felt sorry for them on that front, really. So in terms of nutrition, etc., it was more difficult for them. It was a challenge. They were eating a lot of bread and pasta and not much else, and the other teams are eating a lot of meats that are prepared properly for them, etc. And those were the sort of challenges as well. So when I say inferiority, I don't just mean on the field. I think they it was difficult for them, mainly a lot because of the background, really.
So Iain, you would say that through the adversity, the players were able to dig deep within and access courage and resilience through the adversity, which allowed for them to unleash perhaps the potential that they had, perhaps. So that they got tough and they really pulled out all that was within and got deep within, and generated the self-belief eventually and the self-confidence to compete at that level. And do a great job at it.
Definitely. And I think, going back to that video, I couldn't pause it at the time, you can see when the goals go in, how relieved they are. They're on the knees, and they're praying, and I know that's obviously a common occurrence, but it meant so much to them. And you can't help but want to dig, you want to root for them, and you want to give them everything you can as a coach, because we're working with young people here. We're working with people. We're not working with footballers. We're working with people, aren't we? And whatever's important to them, it's got to be important. You've got to know what's important to them, and then be able to tap into it to hopefully help them reach their potential. Which was really important, and we've got a duty to do that. I think we all have.
Thank you very much for that, Nicholas and Iain. There's a question in the chat here. Says, good morning, Iain. This is from Amar Maharaj. Good morning, Iain. Thank you for taking the time today. You talked a lot about positives, but did you ever feel any hostility from local fans, stakeholders as a foreign coach? Was there any hostility put towards you?
I have to say that I never felt there was, right up until the end. And then when things start to go not so good for you, as I say, we got to the finals in China, but then we got knocked out by Iraq. And then you sort of, you're lucky really, I suppose, because it wasn't really, although it was it was a good position being the under 23 Olympic coach. It's not a hugely, you're not in the public eye a lot really. But they expect, like I say, they expect you to be, oh, well, we've got a foreign coach, they should be doing this, they should be doing that. And a lot of the negative stuff that might have been in the press, I didn't understand anyway, because I couldn't speak or read Arabic. So I never got any of that really. But then I suppose you get bits of snippets of different things. But I think that comes with everything. I think when you're in the game and you're a coach and you're there and you're the one on the touchline and you're losing or it's not going so well, that happens. People are experts, aren't they? And that's up to them, because we love the game, because it's a game of opinions. But in terms of direct hostility, I didn't really feel any of it. I have to say, I didn't. Whether there was any, I wouldn't know. Like I say, because I didn't really feel it. But when it comes to the end, where sort of it looks like, okay, it's not going to end great in terms of, you're not going to get through to the latter stages of the competition. You can feel it really sort of, that maybe your time's come to an end. But I think that's the same everywhere. But I have to say, I didn't feel any direct hostility towards myself. That was, so maybe I was fortunate on that front, really.
Okay, cool. And then somebody here is asking, sorry, Roger Smith is asking, was working with the program budget challenging given the economic situation in Jordan? So I know you touched on it a little bit, but the question is, was working with the program budget challenging given the economic situation in Jordan?
I think, and again, I don't know, I got good support from the federation in terms of what I wanted to do. I couldn't do everything, but the important things that I thought were important, generally, they were able to come across. But little things like, like I was saying about the often if you're getting flights places, it'd be a flight that would be, okay, 1 o'clock in the morning rather than 12 o'clock midday, because obviously it would save money for them to fly at 1 o'clock in the morning. Things like that didn't always suit you, but I think you have to just accept that and move on. And the most important thing is how you react and how you're going to work through all these different problems. So when I said about the economic situation for the team, we were okay. We had things, we could do things, etc. When I was talking about, a lot of the reference I'm making about the economics is the players, that the economic situation that they were in, that then brought something else out in them, and it really mattered to them. And did that pressure of maybe being the family breadwinner, did that affect the way that they played the game and the way that they performed? And it probably did. And it may have been detrimental to some of them, and they may not have been able to handle that. And then the mistakes, if somebody missed a chance or one of the players missed a chance, in the first half, and then you came in at half time and you're speaking to him, it would take them 25 minutes to get over it. And it was that thing around them being really, really proud about and he didn't want to let anyone down. It's a real, that was a challenge, to be fair. But in terms of, like I say, the challenges are just different ones. And we weren't really hampered too much as the Olympic team with restrictions on economics and things like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, we couldn't go and play in Los Angeles in a 6-week training camp, etc. But we could certainly get what we needed to help us prepare.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Iain. I'm just there's Kes Sedeno. Kes Sedeno, can you unmute and ask your question, please? Kes, please.
Yes. Hi. Good morning.
Hi.
Reference culture. You said I heard you said that no amount of the courses you did, the coaching courses, whether UEFA, etc., could have prepared you for culture. In going into the Jordan job, did you prepare yourself, and what did you do to at least get a level of understanding their culture over in Jordan?
Yeah, okay, great. It's a good question. In terms of what I did beforehand, it sort of happened quite quickly. So I was in a position, and I sort of got the opportunity to go within sort of 4 weeks. We were looking at the different, I'd looked at different things around the country and what they were doing and the competitions that they were going to be in, etc. But I really knew very, very little about the country when I got there. And I remember buying a book, Living in an Arab World. It was written by a lady. It's a fantastic book. And if I'd have read it before I'd gone, to Jordan, I wouldn't have understood anything that she was talking about in it. But after 6 months, I read it and I knew exactly what they were talking about in it all. So then that sort of gives you an understanding of how things work, and how they, you know, how the country operates, and particularly, you know, in terms of their culture and their a lot around their faith and the way that they go about their everyday lives. So I suppose I went into it as a football coach saying, well, okay, you know, we've got this, we'll play this system, we'll do this, we'll do that. And then I quite quickly realized that I was going to have a period of assessment that got to know things. So I really, in answer to your question, I suppose the simple way is no, I didn't really prepare for it, because I really didn't have time, and it was my first sort of jaunt into that part of the world. And I learned pretty much on the job for the first sort of 3 or 4 months, and then realized what we needed to do and how we needed to go about it. So maybe not the perfect preparation, but hopefully sort of we got to a certain level in the end.
Okay, very good, Bronny. What we do is I'll take one more question from the chat, and then come in, when we get to the end, I'll ask the other question. So this question is from, is it Ugwu? It is from Nigeria. Collins. He's asking, ask him please, what role the increase in allowance, right, for the players and religion played in their transformation to be better players. So was it a challenge for them when they got more money? Did that help them? You know,
No, I think it helped them. I think it helped me with them as well, because I think they sort of saw that I was going, you know, wanting to represent them properly, and, you know, understanding what was important to them and trying to do the best for them. I couldn't always do the best for them, but for example, I'll give you an example. We negotiated if they qualified. If they qualified, they received a bonus, a one-off bonus if they qualified. Then when we did qualify, I asked the question, and they said, "Oh no, that bonus was if you won the group." Now that had never ever been said to me at all. It was no. If you qualify to the finals, all the players will get a bonus, and then it was changed, which was obviously a huge blow. And I tried to do everything I could. We got it in the end. They came across with it in the end, which was good. But we had to fight for it, and I think the players. I didn't receive it. It was for the players and the staff, and we fought for it, and we eventually got it. We eventually got what they were supposed to get, but it didn't. That was a huge thing for them. No, I think the increase in the it didn't make them become less hungry. It sort of gave them more peace of mind, I believe. And we're not talking thousands here, we're talking, you know, hundreds more than what they were getting, but it just seemed to ease their burden a little bit. So I think it helped in a way, for sure. And in terms of the religion, obviously it's a hugely religious part of the world. And as a foreigner, you know, you have to respect that. I learned quite quickly. My first training camp, my first get together training camp we had, whenever it was, and we were training in the morning on a Friday, and I was aware that it was the holy day on a Friday, and they all went to the mosque, and it was 11 o'clock that they needed to go, and it was sort of 10:30, and I could see everybody looking at the watches thinking, right, and I'm thinking about, you know, how we're going to press from the front, etc. But they're thinking about something else. So from that day on, we never practiced on a Friday morning, ever. We structured it where obviously we had to train if we were in training, preparing for games, etc. But we train later, we train in the evening. But I never ever from then on trained on a Friday morning, because I knew how much it meant to them. So, and I think you have to be aware of that.
And let me just as a segue from that question. So I'm guessing, Iain, because you went in and asked for the players, you know, make sure that you fought for their bonus. Did the players look at you a little bit differently in terms of that coach is actually fighting for us? Yeah, he's foreign, right? But he's actually fighting for us? Did that strengthen your relationship with the team?
I think so, but I think it wasn't, you know, I just felt it was what they were what they were owed, what they deserved, and it wasn't anything other than that, really. And I don't, maybe they did. And I have to say, I've said it a couple of times now, I got really well supported by the federation. They were good. The general secretary was excellent with me, really good. And it was just that came from another level, that decision somewhere along the line. But then it got changed again, and you're sort of saying, well, and that gives you an understanding of the culture as well. There's haves and there's have-nots, and generally the haves want to keep what they've got, and the have-what-nots are just trying to strive all the time. So I believe, or I hope that it helped, but it wasn't certainly, from my point of view, it wasn't certainly anything, that it was premeditated. Or I'll try and get them this, so it'll look favourably. It was just as a human thinking, no, hang on a minute, that's not right. You said this, they said that, that can't work like that. And eventually it worked out for them. Okay,
and I said one more question, but Clint just texted me a question here. Clint is from Canada. Ooh. And he asks if it had any a two-part question. If they had any one special moment that changed you as a coach, that's something working in Jordan, and then of course you're going to go on to China in a little bit, that changed you as a coach, and the way you saw coaching. And the other part of that question is anything that triggered a deeper understanding about football and life. Did it have was there a life-changing moment there for you, based on you coming from the Premiership, right, coming from working with other top teams and coaching in Jordan and in China?
Yeah, I think, and I show it quite a lot. That when they qualified after that game, it was like it was a relief. It was a huge relief. And then I saw how much it meant to them. And those sort of moments, thinking you've done it. I remember phoning my wife. You get a bit emotional because you've done it, or you've done that particular part of it, and particularly where the region that we were in the world. It's there's obviously there's the history around there. It's sort of it's unbelievable, really, very surreal. But yeah, I think that was a huge experience. And then when we went to the finals that were in China, the one that we qualified for, we had the same group of players, those same front three, and we were 2-0 up in the first game against Saudi Arabia, and we drew 2-2. We gave away a 95th minute penalty, and that experience was a really tough one to take, because the rest of the games were difficult. We played. The next game was against was it Vietnam? It was against Vietnam. We drew 1-1, and then we lost to Iraq. But that Saudi Arabia game was sort of, they'd come so far and they'd done so well. And maybe looking back, I had probably regrets about the way that I reacted after the game, maybe to them. And maybe it wasn't beneficial for them. And I can say that open and honestly now. When I was really disappointed for them, but obviously showed it in a way that it might not have been the best way of doing it with that particular group of players. So I suppose, I don't know whether that answered the question, but they were sort of standout memories, really.
Okay, cool. So let's go on to the China bit, and then we will come back to the questions.
Okay, so after the Jordan situation, just as a bit of a footnote, after we qualified, we went to we had the team together, and then en route to China, we stopped in Dubai and we played a game, and we actually played China's under-23s in a friendly match, and we won 2-0. And that game actually got the CFA interested in me coming to China. So it was funny how it all worked. It was a friendly game. It was a warm-up game before the tournament. We won 2-0. And then obviously someone said something, etc., etc. And then sort of 6 months down the line, I'm working for the, or a bit longer actually, I'm working for the Chinese Federation. So it was interesting. So coming here initially, I came when the group were under 18. There was a head coach who's still the head coach now, And my role, I know Dion put it on the sort of the flyer. I'm not the head coach of this team. I'm the assistant. So we do have a Chinese head coach, and I've just explained it there. I think, yeah, it's explained there in the context. So I'm more, I'm obviously very active on the coaching field, but I'm really involved with the planning and the structure and how we go about things and the tactical work that we're doing. So that it's a slightly different role, really, but still, you know, obviously heavily involved in the team. And again, it was a good thing to point out, because this is totally different to Jordan. At club level, there's huge resources, as you probably all know. And this, I didn't know this until I came to China. The CSA rules, or initially when I first came, the Chinese Super League rules are that you must start with an under-23 player in the team. And then they're allowed 3 foreign players on the pitch at one time. It might be 4 now, actually. And for how many foreigners you have to play the same number of under-23 players. So you must start one. And then if you play all your 3 foreigners, another 2 under-23s must come on. And obviously that's to try and encourage the clubs to play the younger players. It doesn't always work like that, because there's no stipulation on how long the players can play. So certain European managers would start with a player and substitute him after 1 minute, which obviously is a farce, and it doesn't help anybody. But that was the situation that you're in. But because of that, the under-23 players have got a value to the clubs. So a lot of them are on big contracts. So there's a big competition to sign under-23 players because they need them. So the players are on big salaries. The majority of them anyway. And they've all been in a structured, and the majority of the players have been in the club system. And there's academies all around China attached to not only to the pro clubs, but also to the provincial government sports departments. So they have their own provincial coaching program as well. And a lot of them are residential. So a lot of the players, these players that are, you know, aged between 21 and 23, have been in the clubs full time, training every single day and living on site and going to school, some from as early as 14. So you're talking 7-8 years in that program. So they're used to training. It is professional. There's lots of resources, but it maybe is too far the other way. Jordan was one way. This is probably a bit too far, where the players are sort of, they've been in it. Stale is a phrase I would use, because they train all the time, and that's just the culture. You know, more and more and more is less. They'd rather train for 3 hours, because that says on the sheet that we train for 3 hours, rather than saying, okay, we'll train for 90 minutes, but it's of high level, high quality. So that's something that's really, really important, or it's really integral into the way that the players are worked with at a young age. So they're very, very used to structure. Like I say, their lives, eating together, training together, school together, etc. And that's the culture. That's the way that it is. But not a lot of room for individuality, and that's becomes an important. I've been, obviously, the time that I've spent here, I've spoken to different people in different sports. And historically, China has been very successful at individual sports, because it's about that volume of repetition. Sports that are team sports that require a lot of decision making, maybe not as successful, and maybe it's the way that they're taught, in terms of it's just repetition of the same thing without a lot of the decision making element in it. So, and again, a little bit similar to Jordan as well, in terms of the proudness. And I suppose that it's not just limited to this part of the world, but there's a big culture of not losing face, so of not, you know, making mistakes and looking bad. So risk taking is a real minimum, and that goes on to within the culture, but also it goes onto the training field and onto the football field. We don't have a lot of dribblers because it's a risk, and you might lose the ball, etc., etc., etc. And again, getting to know the club structure and the way that it works here. and I feel for the coaches. The results are really, really important for the coaches because they get sacked. Even the young coaches, it's all about the result. It's all about winning, and obviously that has a big effect on the way that people work, and how the coaches work and how the players are developed. It has a real effect. So you can't, it's a problem. So the standout comment: the players take instruction really well, but there's a real lack of creativity and individuality, really, which ultimately results in that they don't score a lot of goals. And if you don't score a lot of goals, you don't win a lot of games. And if you don't, etc. So this was the context that I'm involved in, working for a very successful, very supportive, terrific guy, head coach. He's done really well at youth level over here, and he's had the responsibility, and I've got the responsibility mainly, even though it goes a bit deeper, but I do a lot of the in possession work, particularly around the attacking unit and what they need to do and how we develop, which is a challenge because of all the things that I've spoke about before, because you might work with the team to get into a situation that's 1v1 perfect, and you'd expect your wide man or your attacking players, you'd expect their eyes to light up, but often they'll take the chance. They'll just take the opportunity to pass the ball, pass the responsibility onto somebody else, and then the opportunity is lost. So that's a real thing. That's a real challenge to try and develop. We played in the third tier of Chinese football last year in League Two, did okay. And then we're playing in it. We're just halfway through the first stage now, actually, of this season. So we've played 7 games. We're second in our little mini group at the moment, which is great. But then the standout there, even though I've mentioned it above, the project is to try this group of the next Olympic group for Paris 2024. So the idea is to try and qualify them for Paris 2024. So it's a long-term project. So I've put it's very much developmental, which it is. The results aren't hugely important, but we have to perform to a certain level. So that's which I suppose is the right way to be, really. But even then, because of that, the players are worked with ultimately in a certain way, which we have to try and which I've had to adapt to. So then looking at the coaching, along with the local staff, develop some strategies to provide the players with the attacking organisation whilst encouraging initiative and risk. And it's delivered in a coaching style that they can relate to. So quite quickly worked out that you can't give them, even though it's the area that we want to develop them in, the decision making, instead of leaving it totally up to them, what they do, you might have to give them, because of the way that they used to being structured, and you might, instead of it just being totally free, you might give them 3 or 4 solutions, and then you're still looking at the decision making, but in a bit of a structured way, which is a way that they're used to working to and being taught. Okay. Oh, sorry, I skipped ahead. Okay, so this is my strategy. So within the first league program last year, we introduced the individual development plans for each of the players, and this went down well. And again, going back to the way that the culture is over here, they like numbers, they like things that are tangible, they like to look at things and say, right, okay, this is this and this means this, and I can see that, the numbers, the graphs, etc. So this was a way that I sort of thought that might appeal, which it did. The coaching staff took it on really well. Then we did try and individualize it a little bit in terms of the feedback. We got which we've now got to the stage where, and it's something that the head coach has implemented, which is great, obviously through discussions. When we're doing a review of a game, a video analysis review of a match, rather than the coach just being at the front and him doing all the talking and making the points, he now gives the players, he now tasks individual players with delivering the review themselves. So it's really good. So you'll have, in one particular game, you might have 4 players doing different parts of the review. Obviously, the coach is there as well, and we're all there to help. But then it's starting to build their knowledge and build their confidence and build this individuality around what they want to say. They say what they want to say around the game. So it's really bringing some ownership onto the players. And I know other nations have been doing this for a long while. When I worked for England, it was something that they did, they'd already done, but it's progress, and that's a big step over here. So that's something to be really pleased about. A lot of the individual technical work and unit work has been introduced into the coaching schedule. What's really important, and again, I touched on it before about the individual sports and the repetition, the ping pong, the badminton, the individual swimming, the rowing, repetition, 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 repetition. So it becomes training. And I remember saying in a meeting quite early, we need to be careful that we don't train the players. The players need to practice. So we need to practice what we're going to do on the field. So we brought in a little, we presented to the staff and to the players about this practice to field. So making sure that what you're practicing isn't just something that's generic. It's always linked to the game and always linked to how we wanted to play. So then you can, when you're doing your reviews, we've now got to the stage where we're videoing, or we've been doing this quite a while, we're videoing coaching or filming coaching. And then when we see things in the games, we put the coaching footage together with the match footage, and it helps the learning because they're seeing the link between the practice. So we called that little project Practice to Field. And then probably one of the biggest things we've done is this implementation of the Attacking Initiatives project. And it's taken on a real importance now in terms of we're looking at this, shapes some of the team selection and some of the performance analysis that we do. And I'll go through that in a minute. Strategy around how we tackle this one. These individual development plans, this is how it looked. Obviously, they're in Chinese as well. And it was done last year when they were under 19. So we observed the players as a coaching staff. We come up with some strengths and some weaknesses, and we establish some targets for the players. Now, the targets are then focused on, as it says there, on the training field, individual work, group work, video analysis, and then we have a review. So it's something that's been going on quite a while, particularly in the English game and in the academy system, where there's these performance reviews and individual player development plans, trying to focusing on the strengths, really, not just the weaknesses, looking to maximize the strengths, calling them super strengths, as one professional club looks at it. You've got to have an outstanding quality, and rather than, if you have got an outstanding quality, make it as good as it can possibly be, rather than focusing on weaknesses all the time. I think that's really important. So anyway, once the staff established the target, we then sat with the player and said, what do you think? And generally they agreed, but some would be, okay, well, no, I'm not sure. I think I need to work on this a bit more. And then we made the plan, and then we made the action. So that went into got integrated into the team technical program, which was also a real positive. So that's still part of what we're doing now, aside to all the other technical and tactical work that we're doing. This is just an example of one of the midfield players and his individual development plan to improve his ball striking, get more shots on goal, ability to play through or over, improve understanding of blocking lines. So he agrees all that, and then we work at it and we structure his, there might be 15 minutes, 20 minutes every training session or every other training session it's coach led, but it's sort of the players are working on it themselves as well and looking at different things. So we found that that's worked really well, and the players like it and the staff like it. The practice to field, you can't read it again, some of it's in Chinese, but these are just attacking patterns that we'd work on in training unopposed. My idea being that we don't really need to go into the detail of the training there, but it's the idea of, okay, we're looking at a particular attacking pattern, we're working on it in training, let's look at it in the games and let's link it all together. So we're linking our practice to the match field. And then this is the current introduced this into this league season, really. It's the initiatives. You might have seen this before. Again, going back to maybe one of my earlier slides about them, the best coaches, the best seeds. This is something that I saw a friend of mine passed on to me that was being implemented, and it's just my take on it. There's different ways of doing it, but I found it really beneficial. So there's a bit of blurb there. Again, just a bit of a background. So you're looking at the system counts goals, assists, and initiatives and efficiency. So I've really looked at obviously the goals, the assists, the initiatives, what they're doing. You know, is it a dribble? Is it a pass? Are they receiving it? Is it a run? And then how many of those actions have actually have a positive outcome? And I'll show you this in a minute. You can do it for all the players, but I only do it on the attacking units. And again, this is just a bit of, you don't have to go into this in too much detail, but it basically gives you an idea. And I know that I was thinking about this earlier. Obviously, if you've got the software, you know, Instat and Prozone, etc., that can give you all this information. But if you haven't got that software or that technology, I've been doing it here on the side of the field, marking off where the players are, when they've got into a certain zone and whether they haven't. So you don't need any technology for that, and it's something that it's really interesting when you see it. Okay, so this is basically it. These are the zones: Zone A, Zone B, and Zone C, and the dynamic, they move. But it's basically the areas that you're trying to get into to then show your initiative, create chances and create goals. But obviously it's dynamic, and wherever the opposition are defending, the zones move. So, and they're moving constantly. Again, it just gives you a bit of a reference in terms of the way that you're going to attack. So this is where the initial thing came from. If you look at it, this explains it quite well. This is Liverpool against Chelsea a few years ago. Just let you watch it. Okay, that hopefully that explains the sort of system. Oh.
Iain, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Has there ever been statistics done in terms of, do you get more goals from Zone C as opposed to Zone A, obviously closer to the goal? Is it always that zone C you'll get more goals from?
I don't know, to be honest. I wouldn't know. I would presume so, but I think definitely, and we'll go through it in a second. That's the hardest one to get into. See, particularly if if a defense defends deep against you, it's impossible virtually. But I wouldn't know. It would be an interesting thing to find out.
Okay, cool. And yeah, because one of the coaches was asking in the chat in terms of, obviously this is very high technology, but being in the Caribbean or being in Jordan, so to speak, and obviously you coming in as a national coach, if you said to the federation, we need to have this, and they will, do whatever they can. But for the local coaches, sometimes it's very difficult to get them to purchase this type of equipment, apparatus to help us to get this type of data. What do you recommend for the coaches?
In terms of this thing here, this initiatives thing, like I was trying to say before, I did the video I've just shown, the Liverpool video. That was something that Liverpool created. That's where I've got that from. But in terms of the capturing of the who's in what zone and how they're doing, I do that now here on the side of a pitch with a piece of paper and a pencil, and say, right, he's done this, he's done this, he's done this. So that's not, you don't need the technology for that. And all it does is it highlights to you, which I'll show in a sec. It highlights which players do what at what time. Now, it might be really obvious, but I was surprised to a certain degree. But then it helps you also, and again, I've put it here, it provides a focus for the work that they do and the training that you do, and also the players that you select. But I just want to take you on to this one, which hopefully might answer the question. So I did a review after the third game, and these are our attacking six. So we play 3 in midfield and 3 up front. So the guy on the top left says Ash. So if it's green, it's positive. It happened. So an R is receive. If it's a red R, it means it was a run and he never got the ball. So in zone A, for example, Ash has made 4 runs. He's received the ball 3 times and he made 1 pass. So he's got 4 out of 5. That's his sort of efficiency in terms of that. Zone B, 2 out of 4. But this was the real thing that got me. And it's the same for everybody. If you look at zone C, there's very little success, either with receiving passes, having shots, getting crosses. And then the bottom left, bless him, that was our number 6 that played in the third game. So he made, and the staff were astounded, and I was as well, he didn't make 1 single pass into zone A, zone B, or zone C. Now, that might be, in your team, you might not think that you might want a number 6 to just defend, and that's fine, and play simple and play sideways. But for the way that our coach wanted to play, that was a big statistic for him. So we made a different selection in the next game on that front. But it's quite clear from seeing this here that we needed and continue to need to improve the efficiency of our play in zone C, which probably goes to answer one of your questions, your question from earlier, Leon, about where the goals come from.
Yes.
So if you look at it, the striker in the top left, Ash, look at all the runs he's made into zone C, and he's only got 3 balls out of 11. The guy directly opposite him, Duan, he's made 4 runs and he's had 1 pass. So his is, none out of 5, non-successful. So it was a real, is that around just the attacking talent that you've got available? Is it down to the talent of the players? Maybe. But also, I think it's something that's tangible, which is actually they like here, and it fits in with the culture. They like the numbers. They like to see and it's then something that you can refer back to and say, okay, well, we need to improve this and this and this, and it might shape your work going forward. So this was a presentation I did to the players. Basically, what I was saying was that generally we get into zone A and zone B quite well, but it's then what we do when we get in, particularly around the opposition's penalty area. Zone C is difficult, but we might do really well and work the ball into zone B. but it might be a bad cross, it might be a bad decision, 2v1, it might be we might lose the ball, or do we even bother going 1v1 because of the nature of the players. So this was something that we spoke about. And then I hope you can see this. And again, this is something else that Paul McGuinness, I don't know, some of you might know Paul McGuinness, who worked for Man United for a long time. He worked for the English FA now, and this is something that I saw him do. So these quadrants are observational. So if you look at them closely, the quadrant that's shaded is where the ball ends up. So basically what it's looking at is different ways that you get behind teams and move behind. So the one in the top left that's blue, that's just a dribble. So it's saying you basically just dribble past the opposition, it's 1v1. And then you work your way through all of them, or all the different ones. The next one in yellow, the first one on the left-hand side in yellow, is pinning and rolling the defender. So you're backing in and he plays down one side and you use your body weight, etc. So all these are things that we sort of introduced. And then we worked on them, different ideas around combination play, how you can move people and how you can get in behind, and particularly get into those areas that you want to get into, you know, zone C and zone B in particular. So this was something else that we tried to introduce and looked at the players. Then again, going in a bit more detail, this was something that our technical director put together, but it fitted in exactly what we wanted to do. There's our formation of our players. Again, it goes back to the point that I made earlier. We're sort of saying, okay, in those areas we lack a bit of initiative and we lack the right decision making. So instead of saying, okay, well, go on, we'll leave it to you, you make the right decision. Often the players don't see the picture. So this again is sort of further evidence of, okay, we're in this situation. Here are some basic rules around crossing and the areas that we attack when we're crossing. Okay, so the player that's closest to the ball is at the number 9. He makes the decision and everybody goes off him. Okay, try and play. Don't play to the first move, but try and play to the second or third move. Oh, sorry, it's the same. It's the same one. Yeah. Okay, just working our way through them. And they're the sort of 4 areas. And this is something that we obviously can practice on a daily basis. Those 4 areas, blocking everything off, and then making sure that the rest of the team are organised. Then where the actual ball is, if it's an early one, you're looking at that red zone, just play it in behind the back 4, in between the goalkeeper and the defenders. If it's a medium one, you're still looking at that type of thing in between. And then if it's a late one, okay, you've got some more options. Okay, players need to run into the space. Okay, there's that run around there. There's the 11 going to the front. There's the 10 making that, and there's that. But then knowing, and this is something that we've worked on with the players again, sort of like rules. If you're in this position, these are the 3 options. 1, 2 to the back post, and 3 to the edge of the box. That's it. Just taking not the decision out away from them, but sort of giving them still the options, but they've got to come up with the right decision. Then obviously, even though you're giving them those choices, the technical level needs to be right. So the technical actions need to be good also. So again, that's something that you can work on. But this was just a way that we felt that, or I felt that, okay, we're giving them some freedom, but we're also saying, okay, these need to be the sort of the rules that we go to. This is now, I think it's game 5. We're in white. So just wanted to highlight some of the stuff. There's things that can be improved, but this is an example of what we feed back to the players and how it works. And hopefully you can see some ideas around where they're trying to get to. Some things go well, some things they need to improve. Well, there's a good ball into zone A, half turn. Another one into zone A, and then we're in zone B. Good bits of combination through. Okay, but then there's a problem, a technical problem. Good ball through again, zone A. Great bit of skill. Good run into zone C. Okay, miscontrolled. But we're still trying to get those. Great one-touch pass. Another pass into zone A. This is a rare dribble. And then hopefully you can see now some evidence of the runs. So as this is coming in, the two guys are running into the box and there's the pullback 45 degrees. Okay, it doesn't score, but at least they're doing the right thing or trying to do the right thing. Great combination play, really good. And would have been a really good goal. Again, good play. Final pass needs to improve. Good pass into zone A. Okay, should be a pass to the fullback, but takes the shot instead. And that's that sort of the decision making that they need to improve on. Okay, a bit of zone B. One of the fullbacks attacking, which is good. Showing positivity 1v1. Okay, wins a free kick. Another one, good forward movement. Okay, the striker stops if you see, and he should run to the front post. That's something that we can look at. Same again, we're getting quite a lot of joy. It's what we do afterwards. Good little bit of play here. Does the striker move to the front post? Okay, needs to be a better cross. Again, here's a typical situation, 1v1. Not a good outcome. Good first time pass into A, really good. Good bit of individuality, and there we go. This is where your eyes should light up. 1v1 in the box. Needs to improve. Same again. Right thing, right pass into zone C, but wrong execution. Great bit of combination play. Okay, a bit tight. So as you can see, we're doing okay in terms of where we get. It's just the outcome, obviously, which is the most important bit. Okay, really good play here. Good bit of 1v1. Brilliant cross, early cross in between the goalkeeper and the defender. Should be a goal. Then zone C, not many examples. Good run, good pass. It's quite simple. Great run, great ball. Should be a goal.
What I like, Iain, what I like while you play the video, what I like is that the players
I think you can see there's some lots of good play, but the technical efficiency's letting them down a little bit. But at least I'd see it as a positive. At least they're starting to, or they're showing evidence of looking and trying to be positive and getting into those areas. Just we need to continue to keep working on their efficiency. And this is the type of stuff that we're doing with the team and with the players on a regular basis. Okay. Right, Dion, are we ready for this?
Yeah, and before we go to that, just one sec, Iain. I was making the point to based on watching the video, how important the players understand in helping each other get into the zones. So that final pass, that pass, because it's an objective for the team, you know, to give them something to focus on, as opposed to just playing the game and no real focus on what are we trying to achieve as a team. So just putting the zones in there gives them something to focus on. You got me, Iain? You heard me?
Yeah, so sorry, did you ask me a question?
So I was just making the point. Having the zones gives the players something to focus on as a team.
Yeah.
This is something
Yeah.
we want to achieve, and helping the teammates to be successful as opposed to just playing the game.
Yeah, yeah. And again, like I mentioned before, the way that the way they like information here, it's tangible for them, so they can say, right, okay, well, I got into zone A this many times, or etc. etc. But it gives you a I mean, my one is, I'm not too bothered about the if a player tries to play through and it's just a technical deficiency, at least it shows you that there's some understanding and they're trying to do the right thing, and you can improve that. You can improve the technical efficiency, and it's I suppose it's a good measure of their understanding. But I just felt it's quite a simple tool, but we've found it quite effective for them.
Okay, so guys, what we're gonna do? We're gonna play a video. Just about 7-8 minutes. And what you have to do as you see the question, watch your following game footage, and take note of anything you find interesting about either team in relation to attacking the initiatives zones A, B, or C. All right, so you guys discuss it, talk about, so if you could just for me, somebody take some notes in the group. When we come back out, we'll discuss it. So going to be about 4 to 5 guys in a room, and you guys go in and have your discussions and have your observations. Okay, so Yale, as soon as you're ready.
Yeah. The video's only about 4 minutes, so I was thinking probably, if you want to do 4 minutes and then have a little, they can have a little chat for 3 or 4 minutes themselves, and then we can take it from there. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure, that's fine. So yeah, let's go. Put it for 8 minutes, buddy.
Okay.
Бельгії у сьогоднішньому поєдинку дивимося ще раз на
Ось тут провал, ось тут відпустили Ромело Лукако, скидка, Де Брюйне віддає.
Чемпіонів, так, і є в нього бажання спокутувати за це.
Okay.
That's it, Iain?
Yeah.
Yeah, can you just show the question for 10 seconds again, please? Just show the question for 10 seconds again. So, okay, so Yale, go ahead and put them in the rooms, please. Let's go, Yale. Let's put them in the rooms, please. Okay. Yes, yield their back end.
Yeah, me.
Yeah. Hold
Okay.
on. Okay.
Yeah, so Brunny, yeah, what I'm gonna do, Brunny, yeah, I'm just gonna jump in from room to room. Let's probably just go into the rooms and hear some of the discussions.
Okay, go on then.
Yeah, so
that's what I.
And I think a little bit of that has to do with the players on the field for each team. You know, Romelu Lukaku is a big physical forward. So when they play those balls over to him in zone B, he can out-physical the defender and keep possession of that ball. But the players on the Danish side of the team didn't really have anyone of that same quality to play balls over the top. So they had to sort of go through zone A and try and break down the defense of the Belgian side.
But did at any point in time did we see let me say did we see Lukaku make the same kind of run in the center of the field? Or was it only when he went out wide that he made that kind of a penetrating run?
Well, I think in the highlight of the first goal, he's actually able to win the ball back from the defender, and that's what led to him having possession in that area of the pitch. But in the second goal is where he receives that ball in the wider area.
Right, but what I'm saying is that if it's a ploy that's what they're going to do in terms of if he gets the ball there, that is the plan, as opposed to looking for a pass when he either wins it or receives it in the wide area.
And to me, I believe the reason, I believe the plan was to get the ball to him in the wide area so that he will have the opportunity to go 1v1. And as the that guy now said, with his power and strength, he will be able to elude and get around the opponent and get the ball back into the zone Z for the oncoming midfielder and the next attacker.
All right, anything else? Any other things we picked up?
One more thing into if it was the build up before the first goal, you were seeing that they was using the zone B on the left hand side, but it wasn't successful. So they was patient and bring it around and try to use the right side. So you automatically see that they was using the both zone and trying to find the easy way out. And the easy way out was ball to Lukaku again, and that's how the goal come. It was more patient in terms from the back coming forward until they reach in the midfield part of the field where there was more decisive with the pass and more quicker pass was being made.
That side.
Good observation, man. Anybody else in the group?
Roger. Yeah. What I also observe again, Belgium did take the space that was given to them, while as you all said previously that they they would double teaming Lukaku in the middle. The spacing at the wings. So the space that was given to them, they had to utilize it. Let's say they wasn't double teaming him. It would have had that zone to attack would have been down the center. But because they were double teaming him, they were able to capitalize, analyze, and see what's going on, and take what the team was giving them and capitalize. And it seems as though everybody had their role to do also when that occurred. So when he dropped in over to the right in zone B, you saw the other players filtering into their zones as he went and he advanced and so on. So everybody knew what they had to do in the different zones. You could see they had a good deal of practice and rehearsal of what they should do in those circumstances.
Right.
But just let me change the topic a little bit quickly. What do you guys think of the zones? Of the zones having that sort of focus for the players?
I think it's very good in the sense that at least if you could dissect the feel into that zone, it could make people being aware of where they need to do when the ball goes into those areas. So there is almost like a prescription for where the ball is at. So it creates a scenario type thing for where the ball is in different zones of the field and breaking it down into smaller, more manageable areas.
Yeah. I think also I think also what it does really, especially with a national team, is that it gives you what some people may refer to as triggers. So it gets everybody in essence on the same page. Sometimes you leave it up to individual players and, it may or may not work. But once players recognize that once the ball gets into a certain zone, there's certain runs that must happen. It gets everybody thinking along the same lines.
And I think what more is really beautiful too is the statistics. So when you feel you had a good game, you realize, wait, you didn't make one positive pass, you didn't make your completed passes in the zones. You're not showing that you're actually performing, So, and that's where you can work on your deficiencies and the technical attributes. So that is beautiful in that aspect. Instead of just playing and say, yeah, man, you had a good game. Now you can actually see, did you really have a good game? No, you said.
Right, welcome back, guys. Welcome back. Is everybody back? Welcome back. So I'm gonna go with Gino. Gino, what room are you in? Can you build on what you were just saying in terms of your observations, Gino?
Pleasant good day, everyone. Again, I was a part of Group 3. We had quite a few contributions within the group. Firstly, I would like to say that this is the first time I actually been introduced to the groups, and what came out of it is that you actually could analyze the game much better looking at the zones. And in looking at the zones, coaches came up with the fact that the direct passes from zone A to C, because Denmark was so compact, that was not happening. So you saw where Lukaku, because the emphasis on this looked like it would have been with Belgium and their attacking formation and how they were structured. You saw that a lot of the attack ended up going into zone B, but not only going into zone B, but it was more dribbling in zone B by the speed and power of the winger of Lukaku, because most of the attack went into the right side. And with that, you got the passes into zone C, and that is where the 2 goals evolved. We also mentioned that with regard to the zones, we were actually able to get statistics. So the statistics was that, hey, you got more passes or crosses from zone B to zone C than zone A to zone C. So that is what we came up with. The beauty of the zones eventually contributed to statistics and actually seeing the performance of the players.
That's well said, Gino. That's well said. Bronny, any comments to what Gino said, please?
No, I think it's really good. It's again, it's what you take from it, and I think that area, that A, particularly when, you know, we talk about the zones moving and the dynamic, obviously you've got more chance to play into zone C if the opposition are defending on the halfway line. But as it gets closer to the goal, it's a lot more difficult. But it's about, you know, those reference points and the spot on. That's the hardest bit. The hardest bit is to get it from A to C 100% because it's so crowded. So, you know, we talk about this in fundamentals of the game. If you can't go through, you go round or you go over. So it's, you know, those type of things. But it's good observation. And the whole point of it is that it stimulates debate, and hopefully we get people that, you know, we get the guys like they seem to be doing, where they're looking at it from their own point of view.
Okay, that's awesome. Can we get, like, let me see if we can get 2 more rooms to answer. So room 1, can somebody unmute from room 1 and share your observations, please?
Hi, yes, good day. Coach Alam here from room 1.
Good day, Coach. Go ahead. Good day, buddy.
Right. So what we saw was actually pretty similar to what the last team said. What we saw was once the striker, in this case Lukaku, got the ball in zone B, he then did a lot of penetration and then getting the ball into zone C, as opposed to Denmark. Once their balls got into zone B, there was passing. Okay, so their ploy was to isolate. Once you could isolate Lukaku 1v1 or even 1v2 in the wide zone B, then you got the penetration, then the ball in, and we got 2 goals from that. So that is what we gathered from the video analysis.
Thank you very much, Coach Bernard. Thank you very much. And room 5, can we hear somebody from room 5, please?
All right. Good day, everybody. Coach Lyndon here. What we looked at is the movement of the ball was quite quick into the different zones, because obviously you're dealing with top professionals. In saying that, the defense on the other side was compact and playing well. So it was key to get a little bit of individual brilliance, which Lukaku provided, which created the mismatch over in the other zone that De Bruyne then exploited by running into that space. And so it was key to see the difference compared to coach's team that he was showing. They were moving the ball quite quickly as well, nicely, but in that final zone there to score, they were missing that little bit of magic. And I think in Belgium's play, you could see it's clear that they're using a similar system, but they have top professionals who may be able to exploit and create that mismatch on the other side in the other zone. And once you have players that could run in and exploit that mismatch in terms of numbers. And then we also discussed from the defensive side, we spoke with, we had Rodolfo in our group, and it's a lot more difficult to defend when you have that player that takes out 1 or 2 people and then frees things up, creates some chaos in there. So that's what we went for.
Sure. Okay. And group 4. Can we have from group 4?
Yes, hi, Kes here. Well, basically, the discussion was the same as the others. The observation was the same. And indeed, when you look at the video that you showed of your U23 team, it looked very similar in terms of Belgium using the same tactics. The only difference was the technical abilities of the players, right? So I will not go over everything that most of the coaches said because it was the same, but I just wanted to add that bit in, that it looked like basically Belgium were doing just what China were doing U23.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So Brother that brought a smile to your face. Let me have you say 2 bits just not Brady, but room 2.
Yeah, good day. Yeah, what we were looking at is the game was being played and both teams were getting a little trouble to get into zone C. The defensive shape of both teams were pretty good. So zone C was kind of blocked off, especially trying to get from A to C. Now the ball being played into Lukaku. Lukaku getting into zone C. Yes, one on the first goal. He drive into zone C from deep very quickly. As another group said, individually, he did well. What we were looking at as in the second goal, he played into zone C, but Lukaku's hold-up play and the drawing of defenders and how well he did with that and moving the ball allowed them to bring the other players also into zone C so that they could have some interconnecting plays and some quick passing to free up other players to get the shot on goal. What we also looked at is Denmark, when they got down into zone B and zone C, unlike Belgium, they were deliberating on the ball a little too much. They were playing a little too slow on the ball, so they were not able to free up spaces in that zone C to create chances. So Belgium was able to do it and create chances to score. Denmark was unable to do that, and that allowed Belgium to win the game.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome, Bronny. Did we get a representative from all the rooms? I think we did. Bronny, you want to make a comment, please, based on the last couple of rooms?
Really good. It's like I say, you want it to be thought provoking, and I think it's John, Coach Linden, is it? He's totally right. Same thing, and I think I tried to stress that before. You know, your end product. Is it a lot of it is down to what you've got and the natural ability and the technical ability that the players have got. And I suppose the point that was something particularly working with this group of players and working in China as a whole, that they lack that bit, that final bit, that real high quality stuff at the final end. But the point being that hopefully these type of initiatives and projects, what you're doing is you're at least teaching the players to get into the right positions more often, and if they get in more often, they'll have more opportunities to obviously get it wrong less times, shall I say, if you get what I mean. If we're in there 10 times in a game, we're going to hopefully score one of them. So that would be the way that look. But really good. It's the observations were great.
I want to make a point, Bronny, that just came to mind as you were speaking. Was it Pep Guardiola that said, "My job is to get you there. Yeah. I'll get you into those positions, but when you get there, it's up to you what you do." Did I hear that somewhere?
Yeah, he said, didn't he? I'll get you to the final third, but after that, it's up to you. That's right. But obviously, you can't if you're in a situation where, you've got, and all the guys are, whatever teams that we coach, what makes. Someone once said to me, "What makes a great coach? Great players." So I agree with that, but obviously we're all at different stages and different levels, and that's fine. But we've still got to, we've got a duty and responsibility to develop the players the best we can, and there's a number of ways of doing that. But again, just repeating on what I was saying there, if you do lack you're lacking that bit of quality at the end, you've got to try and find ways of improving the players and improving their knowledge to, like I say, get them into those positions more regularly by doing the right things, and then hopefully, you get a better ratio of you've got more chance of getting a goal.
Okay. Guys, so keep in mind that Bronny is 12 hours ahead of us, so it's now 10 p.m. where he is. So
you still haven't got the angle of that, have you?
Sorry?
It's the same time for me, but in a different part of the day.
Thanks, Bronny. I appreciate it. That's funny. So what we're gonna do is gonna have like 3 or 4 questions because you have to let Bronny go. So raise your hand, and that's how we'll go. If your hand is up, we will go with the questions. Hand up. Put your hand up if you have a question for Bronny. And then what you guys can also do meanwhile is put in the chat what you thought about Bronny's presentation. All right, so put your hands up, what you thought about his presentation, and for you, how important is culture? How important is culture? As Bronny talked about, and what are your takeaways? So let's use the chat a little bit. What are your takeaways from Bronny's presentation? coaching in Jordan, coaching in China, playing against Iraq and all the different countries. What do you guys what do you guys think? You know, let's put some stuff in the chat. And while I do that, I want to take the chance to recognize Rodolfo is one of our senior national players. He's a little bit he's on his way out now. He's almost to retirement. And Rodolfo played, I think, is in Saudi Arabia. So Rodolfo, can you talk a little bit about that experience, Rodolfo, if you don't mind, please?
I did not play in Saudi Arabia, but I did play in Indonesia.
Indonesia, sorry.
Very, very far from Trinidad. Yeah, it's similar to what the speaker mentioned. It is a totally different culture. It is an Islamic state as well. So there is that element in terms of prayer times and the Friday being, you know, a sort of special day. But one thing he mentioned that I also mention a lot when I talk about my travels is that you must adapt, you know, you must sort of immerse yourself in the culture. My dad always tells me you must mix, but you don't necessarily have to mix up. So it's important to sort of, you know, integrate yourself with the locals. They really, really love that when you speak a bit of their language and you do some of their customs, even, you know, adopt like some of their dress or something like that. They really, really love that. And it does enrich your experience as well. But that does help you integrate with if you're a coach with the assistant coaches and obviously the players. And you get to understand the people a bit more. And that does help you when you interact with them, when you work with them, when you play with them, their mentality and their thought processes. And even if in a way that you could possibly alter it a bit. Because like you mentioned in Jordan, Indonesia was similar, where the guys don't have that professional mentality, you know, full professional mentality. It's almost sometimes like a kickabout for them, you know, and it's not as like serious as it is in Europe, for example. But like you mentioned as well, the talent is there, you know, the ability is there, but sometimes that mentality is lacking. And I think when you immerse yourself in their culture and understand why it's like that, and you connect with some of their players, you could get the best out of them, you know.
That's well said, Rodolfo. Did you have any problems with the food? How did you adjust to the food and the weather? What was the weather like and what was the food like?
The weather was similar to Trinidad, actually. It's, you know, tropical kind of climate. There's a wet and dry season, so that's similar. The food is amazing there, actually. Everything has a bit of extra spice to it, but the food is really, really amazing there. It's such a culturally diverse place. There's so many different people groups and ethnic groups. There are like something like 3,000 different languages, dialects, and because it's a huge, long archipelago, so there's so many different ethnicities all throughout, you know. So you have on the far east, you have, you know, close to Papua New Guinea side, the people are a lot darker, and as opposed to the western side. They have the longest away game in international football and club football. It takes you like 3-4 hours flight, and that's with 2 connections. It's from one side of the archipelago to the other. It's incredible, you know. In terms of yeah, the food is brilliant. The weather was brilliant for me. The culture was very diverse and rich. A lot to sink your teeth into. And I think that's important when you travel as well, to enjoy and enrich your experience.
Ronnie, any comments to what Rodolfo said, please?
No, it's obviously, you know, I'm sure he's listening to him speak there. He's speaking, you know, with real fondness in the memory of being able to, you know, of traveling and the experience of it all and immersing yourself in with the locals, and it does go a long way. Particularly, you know, that's it's a massive part of it. If they see that you're trying to, you know, you're trying to adapt, as he mentioned. But it's yeah, and again, it's, I suppose you're fortunate if you get these experiences in your life, and you know, I would always say to anyone, you've got to go for it and experience it. But, yeah, really interesting.
Dwayne Davis, can you ask your question, please, Dwayne?
Yeah, I was just wondering in terms of the how do I say, the resistance from the players when you try to change the culture in the Chinese team with respect to taking risks and chances. What kind of pushback you got?
Well, again, the situation, you know, I was talking about the context before. A lot of it also is influencing the head coach to say, look, we need to look at this player, play this player. You know, have we thought about playing this player? Oh, well, you know, defensively he's not. And I'm saying, well, forget his defensive at the moment. Let's think about trying to score. You know, he brings a lot to the team. So I think one of the initial challenges is to get those type of players on the field, and then you can sort of say, look, you know, you can start encouraging them on that level. They want to do it. They like to do it. They like to try things, but they're just worried of making the mistakes. And obviously, you can only just keep encouraging them and doing the, you know, making sure that you do the right things, and then through your analysis and through your individual work, you know, you sort of ramming the message home constantly. So there's not really, in terms of opposition, there's not really opposition from the players' point of view, because it's something that they sort of recognise, but it's as if they're sort of thinking, you know, am I allowed to do that? Is that okay? So that's another challenge, really.
That's awesome. And last question from Lyndon John. Lyndon, ask your question, please.
Yes, Coach. Quick question for you. Culturally in Trinidad, we have, you know, different religions and different backgrounds there. So we have, you know, Muslim, Christian, Hinduism, different things like that. In your travels, how difficult was it to adjust, or even like in some places like China, where religion is not even necessarily something there? Is it difficult to adjust, or how do you handle the situation there?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, everywhere's different. There's different challenges, and going back to you know, what we were saying about the experiences in Indonesia, I always think you don't fail with what you do on the pitch. It's the stuff that you do off the pitch that becomes too much of an issue for you to deal with, if you understand what I mean. So you could eat, you know, I've been in situations here where you're at a formal dinner, and you know, they bring a you know, fried chicken's feet out, or they bring a river turtle out, and you know, and to eat. And if you know, you've got things like that can sort of get on top of you, if you understand what I mean. You know, the weather, everything else. You've got, I suppose, from my own point of view, and it's great to have been able to have the experience, you build up a bit of a robustness, really, where you sort of, it's all part of the adventure. You know, and that's only like being, you know, if I brought someone from China over to England and gave them, you know, and said, come on, let's go to the chip shop and you can have fish and chips, you know, they're going to say, oh my goodness, what's this? You know, it's you got to remember where you are and just try and have a go at it. And someone mentioned before about the dad saying to them, and my dad's the same, you know, you have a go at it. You've got to have a go at it. You know, try it. You never know. You'll never know what it's like. But so the challenges of working abroad are, you know, are they different? I wouldn't say they're any worse than working back home in Europe. There's many issues working in Europe and working in England now these days. They're just different sets of problems, and I think if you can try and cope and try and build up a bit of robustness and you know, that type of, you know, personal thing. And I would say over the 5 years that I've worked abroad, or, you know, particularly further afield, you know, have you improved as a coach? Well, you just have different situations. I think you improve as a person because you get to know different things and you're exposed to different things. So that would be my biggest sort of takeaway from it all, really.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to ask Nicholas Gomez on behalf of the Normalization Committee, who stayed the entire time with us, and thank you, Nicholas, for that. Can you say a few words to us, please, Nicholas?
Hey, Dion, thank you very much. To Iain, I thought your presentation and what you shared with us to be so authentic and real of what you experienced and how you journeyed through, you know, your this part of your life journey in Jordan and in China. And a number of things that you shared really resonated quite deeply. Dion and myself, as we charge ourselves to figure out, you know, how do we take what lessons we learned today and have it infused in TNT as we work to transform what is taking place in our nation as it relates to football. You know, we have so much work to be done to really engage, inspire, transform. There's lots to be done, and we really want to take football back to the communities, back to all the communities. How we do that, what's the frame we use, how do we give life to football and TNT again, and really have the engagement of those that are on the call as coaches and coaches that are not with us today, and really create a joint effort and excitement and re-engagement as we work towards bringing this beautiful game back to the shores of Trinidad and Tobago in a much more progressive, much more engaging, and with an opportunity to explore real possibility of doing it differently than perhaps we have been doing it in years gone by. So, Iain, thank you. You shared some real opportunity and things we can borrow from you to help us shape the way forward. So thanks again. And for the coaches who participated today, thank you for being with us. Many of you continue to be with us every single weekend. We see this as an opportunity for us to engage with you, to help us shape the way forward. And we hope that these experiences help you to be better coaches and give you some tools, an opportunity for yourself to explore with others and your team, your colleagues, to come together so that we unite in a way that we help each other grow and develop using this forum as a real opportunity. So thank you for being with us. Yet another session this Saturday.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'm going to ask Mr. Richard Goddard from Tobago. Richard, bring a few closing remarks, please, on behalf of Trinidad and Tobago. Richard Goddard, please. Richard, are you still there? All right, I'm just going to pick somebody. Nathaniel Guy. Nathaniel, bring a few closing remarks on behalf of the coaches, please.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I just want to say thank you so much, Coach. The session was amazing. We can't really say how thankful we are because of the time difference, and we just really appreciate taking the time and the effort to get all these things done and to really pour new information into us to make us better. And a real big shout out to the TTFA for everything that you guys are doing alongside the normalization committee. This has been an amazing experience, and every week it continues to open new doors and new foresight into how coaching is. So I just want to say thank you from all the coaches.
Oh, that's what I said. You almost made me cry there. That was well said. Almost brought some tears. Well said. Bronny, any parting words with us, buddy? Any parting words?
No, obviously, thanks for listening. I hope like anything, there's things that you can take away, some things you might not agree with, and that's fine as well, because that's the game. And I suppose I just want to, I've known you for a long time, Dion, and I think as long as you're involved at some level, then it'll always go in the right direction. And it sounds like, you've got some good people who are supporting you, Nicholas and everyone else around that are, that are you know, hopefully develop things and get them back to where, you know, life's ups and downs, isn't it? And hopefully this is just a bit of a down, and it'll get back to where it should be eventually. But no, thanks for the opportunity. I've enjoyed it, and I can't wait for your borders to open so I can get back to Maracas Bay and have some shark and bait.
You couldn't leave that one out. Thank you, Brandy. And to the coaches, please, if you haven't yet downloaded the first couple seminars, please do. We are actually running out of space. I know we said that from a while back, but we're going to have to start deleting the earlier videos. So please, if you haven't yet downloaded the videos, please do, because we're going to start downloading to make room for these more recent videos. So thank you very much on behalf of the Trinidad Football Association, on behalf of the Normalization Committee, on behalf of the Ministry of Sport and the TTOC. Mrs. Knott couldn't make it today. She just sent me a text. She wished she was on, right? One of our regular customers. So thank you very much, everybody. Tomorrow, Brian Lara, if you have your players, let them come on. Brian Lara will be on tomorrow from 2 to 3:30, doing the motivational series for us tomorrow, with Brian Lara sharing his experiences and in the Dear is Hope seminar. So again, thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Dion.
Thank you.
Yeah, everybody enjoy the rest of the day, brothers.
Yeah, brother.
And sister.
And happy Father's Day. Yeah.
Happy Father's Day also.
Happy Father's Day to all. Father's Day to everybody, man.
Thank you.
All fathers. Happy Father's Day.
All right, be blessed.
Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there and all the men.
Thank you, Marcia.
Thank you very much, Marcia. Thank you very much.
Happy Father's Day to everybody on board.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Happy Father's Days to everyone, whether you're a stepfather, godfather, or father indeed.
I like that. That's cool. Thank you. Thank you. You guys enjoy the game. So we are going to 10 seconds and then we're out. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Have a blessed day, see you guys.
And to all.